Greetings, peers and queers. Welcome back to another episode of Monday through Friday. Pay no attention to the makeup or the hair. I just got off of work. Anyways, quick story time for you. The other day, I was giving a ride to one of my friends after work, and we noticed that there was a carnival happening. There was a carnival setting up for the weekend. They had said, wow, I really wish that I could go to this carnival, but I know that certain people are going to be there. I said, what do you mean by that? And they were like, well, there's going to be people there that I don't get along with. People from my past who I'd rather not see. Long story short, there was an element of like abuse there. I could see in their eyes that they really felt conflicted. Number one, they're a young person and they wanted to go to the carnival. They wanted to go out, be seen, maybe meet new people or see old friends. But on the other side, they know that this is an event that they need to stay away from. Otherwise, they will be harassed. So we pulled in front of their house and I told them a story, a personal story from my past. We had gone to Pride. We had both gone to Pride here in town. They went with a different group of friends. I went with my partner, Karen. But we saw each other there. And I had told them, I'm like, hey, when I went to Pride, I ran into an old friend. I ran into a woman who used to be my brother's girlfriend, my brother's ex-girlfriend from about 12 or 14 years ago. Her and I were pretty close. We were good friends. And she ran up to me, and this is the first time her seeing me like this. She remembers back in the past what I used to be. And she's like, oh my God, how are you doing? I'm like, I am doing great. And she asked me immediately, well, like, she kind of looked me up and down, smiled, and she's like, well, how do you feel? And I told her, truthfully, I am happier now than I've ever been in my entire life. She gave me a quick hug and then really hurried on her way. She's like, well, I gotta go. You know, I'm a bigger gal. It's hot out. I gotta get in the air conditioning. I'm like, I understand. Go do what you gotta do. But there was an element of like speed. There was an element of like, I need to get out of here as quick as possible. I thought it was a little bit odd, so I decided to look her up on Facebook. Found her profile. I had already sent her a friend request. She had not accepted it yet. And I'm like, that's interesting. So I looked up her name on Facebook to see if there was any pictures of her at Pride. And the one picture that I could find, she was with two other people. Those two people were both my exes. This might be the last time I ever say this story because it's getting really old. But the two people that she was traveling with were both my exes. They were a brother and sister. I had, long time ago, in my younger days, I had dated the sister and we were at her house, her apartment. And she had two of her roommates there one day. She started making out with the one roommate who was a girl and was kind of like, we were all drinking and she was kind of coaxing me on to like do the same. I turned to her guy roommate and I made out with him. She got really upset about that. For clarification, I had already slept with her girl roommate. I had not slept with the guy roommate. And this was before her and I got together. The story's all over the place. The girl that I was dating made out with her girl roommate who I had slept with in the past. And we were, we were feeling it. We were a little bit tipsy and it was just, things were happening naturally. I made out with her guy roommate and she freaked out. I was kind of like, okay, are we all in? Because there's four of us in the room. She freaked out. She started throwing things at me, like throwing like a jar and like throwing like keys at me and stuff. And she's telling me, get out, get out. So I'm scrambling, I'm getting my stuff and I'm getting out of her apartment. As I'm leaving the apartment building, she followed me all the way down 2 flights of steps out to the front door of the apartment, and she's continuing to throw things at me, anything she could find. And she says, "Are you gay or are you straight?" And I turn around and I say, "Yes." That was the last time that her and I ever spoke. I felt kind of rough about it because we had been seeing each other for about like 7 or 9 months. And it was hard. We'd never talked again after that. Later on, I saw her brother at a party. Her brother was at a party and stuff. And lo and behold, another one of my exes had shown up. My other ex, a girl, had said, brought her friend with, and they were like rubbing on each other and kissing on each other. The two of them, both women. But they were pretending to be queer to make me jealous. Because, like, I know her. She is 100% hetero. Although, not anymore. But yeah, she's, like, super hetero. And her and her friend were like, like, "Oh, look, we're gay. See, we're gay now. We don't need you anymore. That's not gay. This is gay." And then I grabbed that dude and I made out with him and stuff like that. And I'm like, "That's gay." We did. We made out pretty hard in front of her. He's like, "Let's go back to your place." I'm like, "Let's." So we went back to my place and we started seeing each other off and on from that day. About like 4 or 5 months after that, I was at, yet again, another party. I was at another party and it was an after party. And there was a lot of queer folks there, mostly guys. There was a lot of queer guys there. We were just talking. We were just like talking about things, past experiences. I forget what we were talking about. It happened a long time ago. But this guy, who I was on again, off again with, shows up to the party completely wasted. He shows up to the party. He grabs me by the coat collar, because it was like wintertime. He grabs me by the coat collar, pulls me into him. And like, I used to never like allow people to lay hands on me. But I was so startled this coming from him that I was like, kind of like, what's going on here? And I couldn't do anything. I tried raising my hands, but it was like being in a dream where you can't like run fast or punch anybody. I couldn't do anything to him. And he's like, which one of these guys are you? You know what I mean? Which one of them are you? And he points and he's like, "Is it him? You're in him?" And I'm like, no. And I move his hand. I'm like, "I'm in him." And he's like, and I'm like, "I'm joking. I'm not sleeping with anyone here. I'm just here at the party and stuff like that, hanging out." And I said to him, I'm like, "Hey, you're extremely intoxicated and you're kind of making a scene." And he's like, "Fine, I'll leave." And he goes back to his car. I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute." And like, even the people behind me who also knew him were like, "Hey, he is super drunk. Do you mind giving him a lift home?" And I went up to him and I'm like, "Hey, you're in no shape to drive. I don't even know how you made it here. Leave your car here for the night. I'll give you a lift back home." He had already laid hands on me. And that was red flag number 1. He had already grabbed me by the collar and he was threatening to beat me up if he found out that I was sleeping with any of the other guys. And I wasn't. But he gets in the car, in the passenger seat, my car, and we drive over to his house. I get out, he gets out. I'm like, "Okay, have a great day. You know what I mean? I'll see you in the morning. I'll come pick you up. I'll drive you over to your car." And he's like, No. Come inside with me. Come inside with me. I had also been drinking, but not as much, and still probably shouldn't have been driving myself. It is what it is. I was young and dumb. But we go ahead and we start walking. He had steps that went outside of the house because he was living in the top portion of the house. It was like one of those houses where the bottom downstairs is one apartment and the top upstairs is another. And he had wooden stairs on the outside of the house. Mind you, this is winter, so it's still kind of like snowy and stuff. I walk with him halfway up the steps on the outside of the building, and he's like, "I'll tell my boyfriend to leave right now, and you can come sleep with me tonight." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "We've been hanging out for like 4 or 5 months now. You never once told me you had a boyfriend." And he didn't. He never told me that he had a partner. And my rule with that now, and I think at the time too, my rule is like, I will not sleep with somebody if they have a partner unless the other partner gives that person permission or is involved. I am not a homewrecker. Either your partner needs to know about it and tell me that they know about it and that they're cool with it, or they're free to join in. But I will not sleep with somebody if they have a partner or a spouse, because that's just wrong to me. So I stop in my tracks halfway up the steps. I'm like, wait a minute, you have a boyfriend? And he's like, yeah, I'll kick him out. I don't care. You and me, we're gonna. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, he's sleeping on the couch right now, but I'll kick him out of the house. You can come sleep with me in my bed. And I'm like, I can't do this. You have a boyfriend. You're drunk. You never told me you had a boyfriend. You're drunk. I'm going home. I'm going to go sleep it off. You should do the same. This is where it gets dark, and trigger warning. He goes ahead. He pushes me down because, like, we're on the steps, but it's like one of those, like, landings. Like, there's the steps, then a landing, then more steps, and then you're by his front door. He comes back down to me there. He pushes me down, and I land on the steps going up. He starts unbuttoning my pants, taking my belt off, and he does. And he's like, you know you want it. And then we're going to fast forward from there. I did not give permission. I said no multiple times. He did it. He did it dry. It hurt. That part was shocking in and of itself. And then when he gets done, he just kind of gets off of me, starts walking up the steps, turns around, comes back to me, pulls my head in, makes out with me, kisses me, kind of like how I did a long time ago when we first were, like, hanging out. And he goes, I love you. And then he walks upstairs, but he was walking all, like, drunk. And he goes in his house, and as soon as that screen door slams shut, over the railing from that landing, I throw up. I just begin, like, everything in my stomach comes out. As bad as the physical attack was, with me saying no the entire time and him just doing what he wanted to do, that was scary. And I sympathize with anyone who has gone through that. He then had the nerve to say that he loved me after he did it. And that's what made me lose it. I was not the same. I was never gonna be the same after that. Never in my life was I gonna be the same. I knew about, like, a week later, I was like, okay, that happened, but you're a survivor. You're strong. And I've told a few friends in private that story before when they've mentioned that similar things had happened to them. And I'm like, I get it. I understand. It's happened to me too. I sympathize. I know what you've gone through. So, as I'm telling my friend, when we were at Pride, one of my old friends shows up, says hi real quick, says, you look gorgeous. How do you feel? I say, I've never felt better in my life. And then runs off. I looked them up on Facebook, and the only picture that I could find from that day, that event, was them hanging out with the brother and sister. The sister who threw things at me and laid hands on me and accused and, like, was setting me up for a group activity, but then came down on me for expressing queerness, expressing homosexuality, as she was making out with another woman. And then, I guess to get back at her and to upset one of my other exes, I got with her brother, and the universe has a funny way of delivering karma. He ended up being the one who sexually assaulted me. So I understand why my friend didn't stick around, because she was with two people who had a history with me, and not a good history. So I told that to my friend, and we had a moment of understanding. We looked at each other and we were just like, it is what it is. This is us. And then I said something that really echoed with me. It came out of my mouth. It came out of me, but it didn't feel like it was me. It felt like it was something else speaking through me. And that message is why I made this video and what I wanted to share with you today. I said to my friend, we are queer people. We lead interesting and tragic lives. I think that is the number one thing that separates a lot of us from cis heteronormative society, is that we've all had a little bit of tragedy in our lives for who we are, because of who we are, but mostly because we're an easy target, or no one will believe us. We are queer people. We lead interesting and tragic lives. Now, obviously, my friend, they are a survivor. Myself, I am a survivor. Chances are, most of you out there are also survivors. And there's a beauty in continuing to live. There's a beauty in existing every day and trying to find as much joy as possible while we're here on this planet. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. A little bit of a personal story. A friend of mine was having conflicting ideas about going to an event, going to a carnival, and being a young person because they would have been harassed by people that they knew in the past. I said, hey, when we were at Pride, this is what happened, and this is who they were with, and this is what happened there. We are queer people, and we lead interesting and tragic lives. Thank you all very much for watching. More videos come out every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central. I love you all very much. Stay strong. Bye.